Hey all, Ron here from Military Images magazine with a new episode of Life on the Civil War Research Trail. Today, I want to talk about the photograph here, recently added to my collection. I spent some time researching the soldier and came away with some interesting details that I had not been previously aware of around the Veteran Reserve Corps. And I know when I say Veteran Reserve Corps or VRC, you might gloss over a little bit because a lot of students of the Civil War, myself included, tend to be a little bit dismissive when we think about originally established as the Invalid Corps, later became the Veteran Reserve Corps because those who belonged to the Corps did not like the name invalid attached to them. They're largely remembered for having served behind the lines and off the front lines for sure on patrol and guard duties, and they certainly did that. The conventional wisdom is they freed up a lot of able-bodied men to be able to go to the front lines because they were infirm, perhaps had suffered disease or the loss of a limb in battle, and so were not able to serve in the field as other men could, but they still had some fight left in them and wanted to do their part for the Union. So that's where we get to this soldier. Before I tell you a little bit about him, take a look at the image. I love it. He is standing here with his sack coat on. He's looking super casual. He's got his civilian style cap sitting on top of the stars and stripes. And that's not an average flag. That is one big flag, making that squat hat look even smaller. In front of that, you can see a musket. That's an 1816. Yeah, you heard that right. Almost 50 years old at the start of the Civil War, an 1816 conversion musket. So this guy sort of, to me, has a Western kind of a look to him, sort of a late war look. And in fact, he is a Western soldier. His name is John Thomas Collins. He is a native of Edinburgh, Indiana. And in 1862, at age 15, I kid you not, 15, somehow he managed to get into the Union Army. I know that sounds a little rare, maybe uncommon, but there were thousands and thousands of kids, I'll call them kids that were underage, that made it into the Union Army. Young John Thomas Collins enlisted successfully in the 70th Indiana Infantry. Now, that regiment name and number might not ring a bell with you, but if you take a look, you'll find out that the colonel of the 70th was a man named Benjamin Harrison, who, of course, goes on to become one of the Union veterans who serves as president of the United States of America. So John Thomas Collins, John Collins, he serves in the 70th for a couple of years before he joins the Veteran Reserve Corps. I haven't yet found out what led him to join the Veteran Reserve Corps. I wasn't able to find any particular disease yet. Research continues. However, he joins in April of 1864, and that led me to look up the Veteran Reserve Corps to find out what exactly the 11th Regiment of the Veteran Reserve Corps did during its time in service. There is a great summary of the Veteran Reserve Corps in the official records of the War of the Rebellion. And so I went to that resource and looked up the 11th, and wow, I was taken aback by what I found, how involved they were in the war. So let me read this to you. It's not terribly long, but it'll give you, it's a good capsule summary of what they did. So here's the passage from the official records. Quote, 11th Regiment, and this is dating from 1865, commenced the official year in charge of rebel prisoners at Point Lookout, Maryland. Duty severe, men on guard every other day and sometimes oftener. In shelter tents during part of the winter, weather unusually cold. Every day, the regiment guarded hundreds of prisoners who were kept at work on the wharves and fortifications. 3 companies guarded the shores of the Potomac and its lighthouses, a portion of the men being used as mounted scouts and patrols. This detachment captured 50 blockade running boats, 50 smugglers, 2 officers, and 1 man of Mosby's command, and a large number of Federal deserters. The garrison of Point Lookout at one time numbered only 650 men to guard 22,000 rebel prisoners. Between 18,000 and 20,000 prisoners were escorted to other posts by detachments of this regiment. Since the breaking up of the prison camp, the 11th has performed guard and patrol duty at Washington and various other points in the eastern states. Wow, that's the 11th VRC, the 11th Veteran Reserve Corps. They were patrolling the shore of Maryland, captured 50 blockade runners, capturing one of Mosby's men. You heard me. I read the list just a few minutes ago, so I won't reread it, but I'm really quite impressed with what the 11th VRC did during its enlistment. So John Collins was part of that group for about a year and a few months. He survived all of it. He went on to live a good life, as far as I can tell from looking at census records. He fathered some children, worked as a plasterer in Indiana and Illinois and Kansas. He dies in 1911 under tragic circumstances. In Kansas, in Pleasanton, Kansas, while plastering a silo, the rope scaffolding that he was on collapsed and he fell to his death, thus ending his life at age 65. So there you have it, the story of John Collins and the 11th Veteran Reserve Corps. We'll see you on the next time.